All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Hearts in Action, Telling Your Story and Reaching Your Community. I'm Gina Petty. I'm the Executive Director of the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation. I'm just thrilled to see so many of you today and have you join us for this great session. Before we get started, I'll just kind of give an overview of our objectives for today. We're going to learn how to use your story to inspire action, explore different strategies for outreach, discover ways to build effective partnerships in your community. We're going to share some ready-to-use tools in the Champion Toolkit that you can utilize in your own planning and your outreach efforts. And then at the end, we have a very special announcement that is a special opportunity just for Heart Champions. So I'm really excited to have you here. If you're not yet a Heart Champion, don't worry, there's time to join during this webinar. So before we get started into our content for today, let's just do a quick virtual introduction so that we know kind of who's in the room. If everyone wants to join the chat and just share your name, where you're joining from, and if you want to put in your favorite winter activity. And while you're doing that, I'd also like to introduce today's guest presenters. So maybe I'll introduce you all and you can verbally tell us your name, your location, and your favorite winter activity. Although I know a couple of you are in Florida, so you might have different answers than me. But George, you're first on my screen. Would you like to introduce yourself? Welcome.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is George Ginzo. I am the EMS liaison for Florida Medical Center in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. Let's see here. We're in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. And my favorite winter activity is jumping in my swimming pool when everybody can't. So.
I suspected it would be something that I might be jealous of. Thanks, George.
Me too.
Welcome. Johnny, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Johnny Davis, and I reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my favorite winter activity, not really a winter person, so I would say my favorite winter activity is actually staying in the house because it doesn't get cold here and watch football. So
Nice. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for being here. And Jana?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jana Bonassi, and I am here in very close to Orlando, Florida. I'm in a city called Winter Garden. And I have to say that if I have to pick one favorite winter activity, it would be leave Florida and find somewhere with snow and hot chocolate and maybe a little bit of skiing just to actually enjoy the weather. But again, just like Johnny, I'm not a winter person. That's why I live here in Florida. But the snow really enchants my heart.
Thanks, Jana. And I'm upstate New York, right outside of Albany in a town called Delmar. And my favorite winter activity is baking holiday treats and cookies. And we have a lot of people joining us from all over the country. So this is great and lots of fun activities, skiing, baking cookies, photography, hiking. I mean, just great stuff. So feel free to continue to converse in the chat and connect. But thank you all for being here. And I am jealous of those Florida folks who don't have the snow as I do. All right. I'm sure many of you are familiar with our foundation, but just in case you're not, welcome, and I'm glad that you're here. So the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation, we are a nonprofit organization focused on eliminating preventable death and disability from sudden cardiac arrest and to support people that are affected. And so we have a lot of programming that focuses on public awareness around education, research, and community. And we are actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, which is exciting. These are some of our key initiatives. I'm not going to go through each of them in detail, but they're all listed on our website, and we'll be talking about some of them today as well. But please feel welcome to reach out if you have any specific questions or want more information on anything in particular. We're always here to help. So the Heart Champion program, it's a volunteer program and it stands for Heroes Empowering Action, Readiness, and Training. And so we are so grateful that we launched this program over this past summer. And so it's grown to over 225 members already in the Champion program in over 34 countries and 5 different countries. So there's a great engagement that we've seen, and it continues to grow regularly. So we're really grateful for your involvement. If you're not yet a champion, I encourage you to scan this QR code here on the screen. It's a quick form where you can just indicate some of your areas of interest and how you might want to be involved in raising awareness in your community. But our goal as Heart Champion program is to support you and collectively raise awareness, and we provide tools and resources to do so. We've done some webinars on some of the other kind of components of some of the Heart Champion opportunities. And today we're going to focus on these highlighted sections here, which are raising awareness, hosting and promoting local events, helping others learn the facts, and then speaking out and presenting. So just kind of a quick introduction. We felt like this was an important topic to cover because storytelling is really powerful, as is partnerships, right? So we have stronger impact when we are united and have a collective voice and using our personal experiences to advance our goals and make it personal and share the mission. So people act when they feel connected, and Heart Champions play a really important role by sharing stories and resources and tools and to help lead local efforts in your own communities. And outreach and partnerships certainly just help us to expand our impact and grow our reach. So I'm really excited today to have you all here, whether you're a survivor, a co-survivor, an advocate, a lay responder, a member of the public who wants to learn more about bringing this into your community. There's lots of different roles within Heart Champion program. So we're glad that you're here, and hopefully everyone will learn something that you can utilize in your own efforts today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first guest, Johnny Davis, who is going to walk us through some storytelling tips. So Johnny, thanks so much for being with us today. Johnny's also a board member of the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation, but please feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it's an honor and privilege to actually share these tips with all of you. It's amazing to be here today. And so let's just dive right into the storytelling tips. And I really love this because sharing your story is so powerful. And so let me just kind of give you the tidbits right now. First tip is don't be afraid to share your story. And I know there's a lot of people, especially survivors, who, granted, if you're a new survivor, you may have a little apprehension about sharing your story. But just know that once you get past that, and we'll go into that in more detail, sharing your story is very powerful. Don't be afraid to share it. It's very important because your story is going to resonate and connect with so many people. You may be thinking to yourself, well, who's going to be interested in hearing about what I went through? And you'd be surprised at how many people would actually connect with your story. And just know that your story is not just for you, it's for others to learn from. And again, that's you never realize and know the lessons that people will extract from your own experience and how they can apply that in their lives to improve their life. And sharing your story also will help to restore your power. Sometimes new survivors feel they go through this period. I know I did. You go through this period of feeling so disempowered, and you're trying to resonate, trying to understand, and just trying to connect with why this happened to you. And so there's so many different emotions that you go through, but sharing your story can definitely empower you and put you in a state of restoration where your power has been restored. You no longer feel like a victim anymore. So personal stories are more memorable and motivating, and that's why, sharing the story is great. I remember years ago when I first got started in the sales industry, there's a saying in our industry that stories sell and facts tell. And so There's a reason why we share bedtime stories instead of bedtime facts. People connect with a personal story. So whether you're a survivor, co-survivor, or rescuer, everyone carries voices that move people to want to learn, help, and be involved. And the most important thing is to get people to take action. So storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas in the world. And this is why we all pay attention to stories, movies, we read books, and so on and so forth. We consume so much content because it's written in that form, that storytelling form, and it resonates with all of us in some way, shape, or form. So this is how you can actually put your story together. It's a simple framework for you to kind of like put everything together so that you're not like all over the place when you're writing your story or creating your story or sharing your story because there's so many different facets to it. So this is the framework here. So a simple way for you to share your story and speak and spark community action. Each letter of heart represents a storytelling element that helps champions connect emotionally and motivate others to act. So the H is how it began. Start with the moment that shaped your connection to sudden cardiac arrest. So are you a sudden cardiac arrest survivor? Are you a co-survivor? Are you a medic? What is your connection to it? What happened? Who was involved? How did it impact you? These are all questions that need to be answered through your story, and people will connect with that. E, emotion and empathy. Let people know, let people feel what you felt, the fear, the hope, the gratitude, the determination. What emotions stand out when you look back? How did others around you respond? And this is the part of the story here. Like emotion creates motion. This is where people really connect with their story. And this is what determines whether they're going to like take action or not. This is where they find the inspiration to take action. So whatever your call to action is after you share the story, this is where they're going to connect right here. The A, action you took. Show your journey from awareness to action. Did you learn CPR? Did you get trained? Did you become an advocate? The R, reach. Explain how your story is making an impact. Who has your story inspired or helped? What have you done in the community as a result? The T, the takeaways and togetherness. You end with a call to action, a message of hope. What do you want others to remember you? What do you want others to remember to do? How can they join you in making every link in the chain of survival stronger? Okay, a couple of storytelling reminders. Keep it succinct. Too much detail can overwhelm or distract from the message. Use visuals, photos to accompany your story if you're comfortable. Also, you want to practice your delivery, and it depends on your audience. And that's the next one. Tell your message and key points, depending on your audience. So if you're talking to schools or in a school environment, workplace, community partner, medical provider, whatever visuals, if you have a presentation, if you have videos, if you have books or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you tailor your presentation to your audience because you're going to have different versions of your story. Like I have like 5 different versions of my story. I have the 30-second version, I have a 2-minute version, I have a 6-minute version, I have a 15-minute version, I have an hour version. And there's different levels of sharing a story. Some of you may be in a situation where you're going to be a guest speaker on a podcast or you may be interviewed on television. So you need to know, like, in those environments, how much time you have to share your story. And so you'll choose whichever story is going to be the best suited for that particular situation. Or you may become an author and write a book, like I did, and so many other survivors that have written books or have been asked to be interviewed by different magazines. Like I was interviewed by Health Monitor magazine about 5 years ago to talk about my journey with heart failure. So there's different levels of sharing your story. And just know that the more comfortable you feel in sharing your story. And some people are different, you're different levels right now. You have new survivors versus veteran survivors, if you will. I've been 13 years survivor. So I've evolved past, certain emotions and things to kind of put those things to the side so I can not focus on what happened to me, but who's focus on who's going to connect with the story and focus on how my story is going to help somebody else. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys about that part.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Johnny. That was great. And then I do have a little note on the bottom of the slide that we are kind of streamlining our Speakers Bureau program, and we plan to launch that in 2026. So for anyone that is interested in sharing your story and participating in our Speakers Bureau, just be on the lookout for more information about that, and we'll also be certainly sharing that out as we have more information available. But just wanted to kind of put that on your radar for anyone that wants to get more involved in sharing your story in that capacity as well. So, certainly there's so much power in storytelling, as Johnny articulated, and kind of moving into talking about partnerships, they really can go hand in hand with, if you have a powerful message, how can you connect with other organizations, other partners in your community or in your network to help amplify that story. So certainly partnerships can help extend your reach as well as build community empowerment and just open up the door to a whole new potential audience of constituents to participate. And so these on the right hand of the slide is where to find potential partners. So thinking about places in your own communities, I'm sure many of you have different unique opportunities for partnerships. So these are some suggestions around schools, youth organizations such as Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Boys and Girls Clubs, sports teams, workplaces and civic organizations, faith-based communities, houses of worship, local municipalities such as parks, libraries, recreation departments, and of course, fire and EMS providers, just as kind of a foundational list of some suggestions. And so I also wanted to flag that there are so many, we just had in October the Ready to Respond campaign where we activated trainings across the country focused on CPR and AED training. And so many of these types of organizations were key partners in those activities. And so I'm just really grateful for, those participants and partners to us, and for all of our Heart Champions who did implement trainings in your local community. It was a really wonderful experience. We have trained about 8,000 people through that initiative, and I'm really excited about it. So I know there's many people on this call today who hosted a Ready to Respond event, so please feel welcome to chime into the chat if you have any tips and suggestions as well. But I'm gonna introduce George, who's going to talk about approaching partners as far as an example that he did in his community during the Ready to Respond activity in the campaign that we did. So George, would love to hear your tips and tricks that you had a really awesome event, and would love to hear from you. Thanks.
Great. So thanks for having me. This was something that kind of worked itself in a way that we already have these relationships established with our community paramedics with the city of Lauderhill, and a newer program with the city of Sunrise. And together through their efforts, we were able to bring in multiple boys and girls clubs of Broward County. And if you've ever been in Broward County, it's probably one of the larger counties, or largest counties in the state. We had close to about 100, 150 school-age kids. They brought them in here. We did the class. We also incorporated some drug awareness with that as well. So we kind of fused it all together, but the focus was getting the students to do CPR and mostly compressions. And so we've been fortunate to work through them and with them. On top of that, because of the event how large the event was going to be, we partnered up with the state of Florida. State of Florida has a Resuscitate Florida program. And through them, we became, I believe, one of the only 5 hospitals in the state to be a resuscitation center of excellence. So through all this collaborative efforts, I still have some of the mannequins still from the event behind me. So they were able to pitch in a lot of these mannequins, the teaching, the coordination, all of this to do the event. So we were able to get all these kids in there. We did the CPR, we did the drug awareness training, and it was really amazing. I mean, we have a large auditorium, but we maxed it out. I mean, the auditorium we ran out of chairs, to be honest with you. So we had to really kind of cycle through everybody, and it was a joy really to see all these people involved, these younger people that are involved in learning CPR and compressions. And while I hope it never happens to any of them where they have to use it, it makes me feel better that the kids in the community actually are aware of it and they know about it. And these are programs that we've seen with much success in other places like Seattle and northern states where there's more public involvement with CPR, and that a lot of times made the difference with sudden cardiac arrest, with its survival. So it was a fantastic event, and of course we partnered up with the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation, which was great. They sent us a bunch of promotional materials. They sent us the AED trainers, which were amazing, and it really made a huge difference. It was probably I look forward to doing it every year. To be honest with you, it was great, fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, George. And I know I sat in on some of your collaborative meetings, in planning with the Boys and Girls Club and like really making it a seamless event. And I think the other thing that you guys did that was really uh, nice was that you provided food for all of the kids, right?
Yes, it was on Halloween. It was on
Yes.
Halloween. So I went to my this was so I have a very good relationship with all the departments, but especially my food service people. And I said, listen, I need candy, like all the candy you can muster up. And I don't know if it was going to be a good idea or a bad idea, but it was Halloween, so we ran out of candy. So it was good.
Well, you've
Yeah,
set the bar pretty high for next year then, so you're gonna
yeah,
make sure.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, George. And so we're also happy to take questions. We're going to get through all of our presentations, and then if you have specific questions for any of our presenters, feel free to put them in the chat or in the in the Q&A box. But we'll definitely have time for any questions in a bit. So thank you, George. All
You're
right.
welcome.
So next, I'd like to introduce Jana, who partnered with, so pictured here, that's Jana, and then Ed is in the middle. Ed's one of our board members as well, and they too did a Ready to Respond event this October. And Jana is such a wonderful communicator, storyteller, and has a lot of great ideas for how to get your message out there and promote it and let people know that these opportunities exist. So Jana, would love to have you share some of your suggestions and your experience with us. Thank you.
Well, hi everybody. Hi again. I don't know how many survivors are here or co-survivors, but it doesn't matter. If you're here, it's because you are interested in this topic. For me, it is therapy. So if you are a survivor like myself, doing anything, any event, it heals you. It connects you to the pain that you have with this story by giving back. So the ideas that I have, I don't feel like they are something that comes from a place of hard work, but it really comes from my heart. When we found out that of the event to do that week, there was nowhere where me and Ed had to promote something amazing. So I told Ed, let's wait a week and go to the Hamlin pumpkin patch. I live here in Hamlin in this community, and they're having big pumpkin patch, and 300, 400, 500 people. I think it's amazing. He's like, Jenna, but it's not on that day. It's not on that week. I'm like, well, it's either that or we're going to reach very little amount of people. I want this to be impactful. So he brought all of his dummies. Ed is also a survivor. Matt's mission, his mom, Matt, was there. He also has a nonprofit. So it's three survivors, an event with three survivors, which we felt like we won the lottery. And what was so beautiful was we had our stand and all of these dummies on the floor, and the amount of kids who were interested in what we had to say, or obviously the dummies on the floor, but that perhaps grabbed their attention, immediately the attention of the parents. And suddenly these families are interested and they ask the most interesting questions too. I had this lady ask me, is like, Jenna, but if I see somebody down, collapsed, and the person has no pulse, how do I know that I need or not give CPR? And I told her, just keep pressing because you don't know. Until help arrives, we don't know. And that person deserves a chance. And that moment, I really noticed how hungry the little ones are to learn. Anything you throw at them, they want to learn. So the projects that I love doing the most is usually going to schools to read books and to take the dummy and tell the kids by singing Baby Shark, you can do the compressions and save a life. So the work that I do right now, we're bringing to Florida technology to assist CPR through AI. But the foundation of CPR and life saving, it really has to become a culture, right? One time we didn't recycle and now we do. There was a time where there was no seatbelts and now we do. We know the importance of all of these things. And I feel it always starts with the youth. So getting kids ready, just for them to know we're not requesting children, small children, to save a life with CPR, but to keeping that in their minds as a muscle memory. So when the time comes, if hopefully never, but they are aware. So the best way to do impact for me is events like this in your community. Pumpkin Patch was an absolute success. They were engaged, they were active. Everybody had questions, and the kids wanted to teach their parents. It was just absolutely amazing. Social media. I do a lot of work on social media. I'm going to leave my social media here for you guys to follow. Another one that I was telling Gina, I do pageants. This is my fourth pageant title in the last 2 years. I won the Mrs. Florida pageant, Mrs. Florida People's Choice.
Yes.
And now I'm Mrs. Brazil World, and I'm going to run for the Mrs. World title. And the storytelling, the importance of what happened to me and the fact that I'm alive, and pageantry, it is really the perfect opportunity to shine the light on nonprofits, on organizations, on a topic of this importance. So I do that as well. Flyers and posters, schools. For me, it's schools. It's going to talk in schools, gyms, local cafes, organize events, just like Gina mentioned, and just tell a story. Sometimes we're just afraid, we're embarrassed, but I know that because it took me a long time to prepare for pageant, for me to speak out without pain. I wanted people to hear my story, but I didn't know what part of their story I was able to tell without tears in my eyes. So sit down, shoot a video. Hi, my name is this. I'm this years old, and this is my experience with sudden cardiac arrest. Nonprofits, this community of heart care, it is so big that these are the people that you want to share and hashtag and work with because we are going to love whatever it is you post. We are going to promote whatever it is your heart tells us. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have Photoshop. It doesn't need to be a professional video. But this community, this is all about heart saving. So there's a different feeling for that. We're not expecting anything but your story. It's coming from your heart. And I think that that's the biggest impact that we do. But I told Gina last week, I think the best events, and I'm going to say that for the third time here, guys, it's community events. If you have a community event going on in your neighborhood, go join. They're going to hear you. They will welcome you, and it's going to feel so amazing for you to be giving back. And it's going to be so healing as well, which is the most important to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jana. Those were great, great remarks. Yeah, and I think just to your point too, like one of the things that we work to do at the foundation is to provide as much support as we can as you're out there in your community. So, we do have the Champion Toolkit, which I think is on another slide, but if you need anything beyond what's already in there, we have a lot of templates, we have graphics and tools and resources, digital as well as available in hard copy that we can ship to you. So please know that we're a resource as well for that. Oh yeah, here we go. So the Champion Toolkit. So the QR code will take you to our champion toolkit. As I said, we have a lot of different materials in there because we really don't want people to feel like you're stuck trying to create something if we can provide things that are already accessible and customizable as well. So there's a lot of resources in there. We just recently added an outreach email template. So just some talking points that you can use in an email as like an introduction to a potential partner in your community. The story sharing template, so the heart acronym template is in there as a downloadable, so you can use that to craft your own story and notes. And then there's also a press release template. So thinking about working with local media in your community, there's some key talking points on there. And of course, all of this is customizable, but we're certainly here to help you with anything else that you might need in there. We try to keep the toolkit updated and fresh so that so we're constantly adding things pretty regularly. And then if there's any specific requests, we're also happy to work with you if there's, anything that you need that is not in there. But again, everything is digital on the toolkit, but if you need any flyers or hard copy, or we have some swag available. So if you're doing a community event, if you're doing a table, if you're going into a classroom or workplace and you want to have things to hand out, we can also help you with that as well. And certainly February is going to be here before we know it. So we'll have a lot more resources and kind of updates and calls to action for February being American Heart Month. So if you want to start thinking about that, if there's anything that we can do, and please feel welcome to utilize our toolkit. So kind of a quick action, kind of some things to think about as you've taken all of these things and putting them into practice in your own work as a heart champion or an advocate. Just some tangible things we suggest are thinking about 2 or 3 potential partners in your community that you may already be connected with, maybe you haven't yet. So thinking about how you might want to approach them and partner with them in your area. Certainly thinking about the storytelling tips that Johnny shared and thinking about how you can draft your own heart story, because everybody has a why, right? Everybody has a reason that they do this work, and everybody's story is unique, and that's wonderful. So thinking about your own personal connection and your own message of why this work is important to you, why you're doing this, and thinking about how to kind of capture that in your own storytelling. Okay, the third one, I'm kind of, this is a hot off the press kind of news. So we just started a Slack channel for Heart Champions. So I will be sending out invites to everybody's email who's a heart champion on our list. And so this is a way that we can connect and have some easy kind of quick dialogue. If there's questions, if there are brainstorming, if there's something that worked really well in your own community that you want to share, that's a great place to share it because it gives other people ideas and tips and just suggestions of best practice. So certainly this is a way to share resources as well as cultivate our community of heart champions so that you can connect with each other, learn from each other, and then also just get to know each other. And I think it's pretty neat that we have so much representation across the world and across the United States. So let's get to know each other and network. And I think in October it was also really nice because a couple of people had reached out and who were hosting a Ready to Respond event and were looking for local volunteers. So we kind of facilitated that based on who we had in the Heart Champion list. But this is a direct way to connect with other people to say, hey, is anybody in my state or in my city? And so please feel welcome to utilize that channel as you wish. So invitations will be going out for that shortly, later this week. And then the most exciting bullet on this screen is the last one. So we are the surprise thing that we have been promoting about this webinar is that we're actually hosting a free AD. And it's only open to Heart Champions. So we are really grateful for everyone's commitment and everyone's passion for joining us as a Heart Champion. And we recognize the incredible work that you're doing in your communities. And so we are hosting a special, it's called Gift to Save giveaway, and it's only open to this group. So we are really grateful for Coro Med for the donation of this prize, and grateful to them for their partnership in this. So the winning person will receive a Zoll AD3 with an optional wall cabinet, an HSI remote skills verification, as well as a LifeVac anti-choking device. So, and it's really up to you, whoever wins. It's really your choice. If you win it and you'd like to have, if you have a particular place in your community that you'd like to donate it to and place it, that's great. That's an option, and or you can also keep it personally if you wish. So certainly. Lots of opportunity to make a difference in, perhaps in your own personal life or in your community. And the application process is really simple. And we'll also send this link out via email as well. But the QR code here will bring you to a quick online form. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes to complete. It's not meant to be a super cumbersome application. You have to be a Heart Champion to join to apply. And that's really it. So we're announcing it right now, so that you're hearing it here first. So applications are open now. The window is relatively short because we're trying to announce this before year end. So the application window will close on December 22nd at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So please be sure to get your submission in prior to then, and then we will be announcing the winner on New Year's Eve. So we thought this was a nice opportunity to, in the spirit of the holidays, to recognize, all of you Heart Champions for all of your hard work and your commitment and your partnership with us in this work. So please do take advantage of that opportunity and get your application in. I'd love to now, we have some kind of key takeaways here on the screen, just to kind of summarize some of the key points, but wanted to take a minute, and I'm going to look at the chat as well, but if there are any questions, and I'd love to also, if there are any last comments from our panelists, feel free to share those as well. But I'm going to just take a quick scroll through the chat and see if there's any questions for anybody as well. Okay, so there is one here. At last week's conference at the Cardiac Arrest Survival Summit, there were sessions about gamification and competition and keeping educational materials short and snappy, the way that kids are learning more of today. Any ideas about how to do that as you tell your stories and talk about cardiac arrest and CPR and AEDs? I'll throw that out to any of our panelists.
I can try to help answer that one. I have two daughters, many nieces and nephews. The best way to keep kids engaged is, it's like what Johnny said, tell the story. Tell the story short with excitement and give them amazing to practice. Perhaps like if you're in a school, and I got one of the dummies, I think it's from Preston Products. It lights green when you doing the correct compressions. So that could be a fun way to teach them. Hey, you need to compress hard enough where you see the light. Or you have 30 seconds to do, and then you have to switch and tell your friend. There are many creative, fast-paced ways to keep them engaged. And I feel like with kids these days, keep them wanting more. It's the best way for them to remember, to stick to it. And I love that idea, actually making games and telling them, but definitely you need an inspiring story. That's why everybody here is so important. You're not just a person saying, oh, guys, I want to tell you that CPR is important. No, you want to have a story to back that up. I want to tell you something that is really important that happened to me, and A, B, C, D, and progress this story into something amazing where the kids are going to be like, wow, my daughters, it's elf season, it's Christmas season. I don't know who has kids here and is aware of that. Last year, I was walking my dogs, And we found an abandoned elf in the middle of the street. So, and you can't touch the elf. Otherwise, the elf, look, Mommy, what are we going to do? Are we going to leave her there? I'm like, no, guys, we'll take her home, we'll pick her up, and we throw cinnamon and she'll come back to life. Little did I know, my daughter put her on the table and starts doing CPR on the elf. So she already, boom, she knows you're down, CPR. I thought that was like, yes, that's exactly what we want for our kids. We just want them to get there immediately, right? And I thought it was a beautiful thing to see. I was so proud of her. I didn't say anything. She's just like, but mommy, she's not breathing, so I need to do CPR.
Oh, I love it.
If I could add to that also is with relation to the stories, you got to make it relatable to them. So when we did our event, we try to relate whatever story we were giving to something that could happen to them, right? This could be your grandmother, or this could be your auntie, or this could be your next door neighbor, or one of your schoolmates. Like we told a story of a case that I had when I was a paramedic of a 17-year-old at a basketball game that went into cardiac arrest, and they put the AED on him, shocked him, and they transported him. And because someone at the game knew all of these things and knew all these chains of survival, he's alive today. Well, that's relatable to them because they kind of see CPR as like for old people or for someone else. When they say, "Oh my God, that was a 17-year-old," that could be my older brother, that could be my cousin. The other thing I did too was the Southern Cardiac Arrest Foundation sent us some T-shirts, and I was like, "What do I do with these T-shirts?" Well, we kind of played a game. I mean, we gave them away. So I had almost 200 kids in here. I'm having them like, "Who remembers this?" Or we talked about that. Was this? So I just gave out those T-shirts, and they were killing themselves for these T-shirts. They would normally have never wanted these T-shirts, but it became competitive. So that's another way to do it as well.
Great idea. Thank you. There's another question about if there's that Florida, has a lot of structure. Is there anything like that in Southern California? So I'm happy to connect with you offline too, but we do have a Sun Craygrass Foundation chapter in Southern California, so I'm happy to make the introduction to you there. And we also had quite a few Ready to Respond events in Southern California, so I'm happy to connect you and facilitate those introductions so that perhaps there could be some collaboration in Southern California as well. Another question that I wanted to raise that I think is a great question for anyone here, have any survivors told their story through a translator? And if so, any tips for doing so? I imagine it might be more difficult due to pauses and losing train of thought.
Yeah, I think that would be difficult because in your story, there's an emotion, and you don't want that emotion to be out. You want that emotion to be there with you when you're sharing your story. If I would do it with a translator, I would definitely join the translator first to get the message through and then do the event. I share my story through my book. It's called Heart of Hope. But I also do it in Brazil, which is my home country. And then I have the book Coração de Esperança, which is Heart of Hope in Portuguese. I can never find myself to divide the two, to unite the two, excuse me. It's either events for Brazilians who speak Portuguese or these events for Americans and people all over the world that speak English, so you don't lose that emotion. So I believe that if we were to do something like that, perhaps having that translator know your story beforehand.
Yeah, I agree with that. I personally have never had my story shared by way of a translator. And I do agree with Jana that in doing so, you can lose the emotional aspect of it. And that's what people connect with the most. It's the emotional part of it. That's what creates the motion, and that's what enables people and inspires people to take action based on your call to action. Um, so what she suggested and recommended, I definitely agree with that.
Another question for probably Johnny and Jana. Any tips on starting to write a book on your journey with your experience with Senate cardiac arrest?
Yeah, so I started writing my book um, back in 2007. My cardiac arrest didn't happen until Christmas Eve of 2012. But my story goes back to when I was diagnosed with heart failure, and my heart failure was the reason why I had sudden cardiac arrest uh, 6 years later after having the heart failure. So it was a therapeutic reason for me. It was therapeutic at the time. I was just getting all of my thoughts out out of my head and put into in the computer, and it was just a way for me to just I
Mm.
was going through so much emotional trauma, and I needed a way for me to kind of like self-medicate, if you will, because I didn't have access to um, counselors, or I didn't know anyone else who was going through a heart failure situation at that time. So the best thing that I could think of was just to kind of write it out and just journal. And so I started journaling and just writing all these ideas. And then next thing you know, it turned into a book. And so I would just say, if you're feeling like you have something that you just want to come out, you're getting the urge to kind of just share your journey, start by just do a data dump of everything that's just in your head. Don't worry about the flow, the structure, or anything like that. Just write, just keep writing and just write everything that you're feeling, everything that you're thinking, what's happening at the time, how you're feeling at the time, what you're doing, what you want to do. Just write all of that out and then go back and just kind of like piece by piece put it all together. And you can actually, if you don't have a writing background, I didn't have a writing background at all. I had someone edited my book for me. I hired an editor. She was able to put everything together so that it flowed nicely and everything just kind of tied together. But I would start there. If any ideas that you have, if you're feeling like you want to get this out of your head, just go ahead and do it, and don't worry about how it reads at the moment, but just do the data dump and just get everything out of your head, and then connect with someone who can help you put it all together.
Yeah, I agree with you. Don't worry about writing the book as you're writing your story. Write that moment first, however way it looks like, and then find an editor to organize all of those thoughts for you. That is the best way to do it. My book consists of my story, me having the cardiac arrest, but then my husband comes in for a couple of chapters and tells his experience with me at the hospital, because it was my husband who saved my life. But my husband is also an electronic engineer and worked for heart failure at the time with pacemakers and all of this. So he knew a lot. He had a lot of medical and emotional information to share. For him, he was done like this. When I sat down to start and to write the book, I was like, where do I start? And then I called my mom crying, and she's like, start from the beginning. And I thought that that was a beautiful answer. So that's like, hi, I'm Jana. And that's literally how I started my book. And I started telling my story, whatever came from my heart, almost like you're talking to yourself. So don't think of yourself as writing a book, but talk to your heart and put that all in writing. And then give it to someone to organize those thoughts for you, and you're going to have a beautiful work.
That's great. I want to ask another question, but I also I see there's a lot of great connection happening in the chat, and I would love to kind of pick this conversation back up on our Slack channel. I think this is great, and that would be a great opportunity to utilize the Slack channel to connect and make these connections with each other. So please do be sure to connect on there, because I know it would be a great opportunity for people to get each other's contact information. And I think probably in the future we will also create like a more formalized heart champion directory so that you can kind of opt in and have your contact information listed. So that will also be coming as kind of the next iteration of contact. But just for now, I would love for people to share on the Slack channel. One of the other questions I wanted to just go back to for our panelists is doing surveys after your events. And so thinking about asking people, has it changed what they thought about sudden cardiac arrest or being involved before, and then what they thought about after they heard your story or your presentation. So things like how likely were they to respond before, and how likely might they be after hearing your presentation. So any thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea, actually. It really is, receiving that feedback. I believe that we all know the answer. I think, especially if that question is asked immediately, um, because if you say it with the storytelling and care, you empower that person. And once somebody feels empowered, she's unstoppable. But I think that's a great idea. I will probably start doing that in next events. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal idea, and I've experienced that with several different speaking engagements that I've done in the past where I was provided that feedback as the guest speaker. So it's definitely I will welcome it because that's how you measure your impact as a speaker and then as a coordinator of the actual event itself. Uh, when you have that kind of data that you can get from people to kind of gauge how they what their takeaways were and how inspired they were to take action and what they're going to do going forward. I mean, that's the whole purpose of having the event in the first place is to get people to come there, hear your story, hear different stories, get inspired, and then say, okay, now I'm going to go and learn how to do CPR. I'm going to get involved in my community. I'm going to take some action. So to have that is great. I believe those surveys are great to have in place.
I'd
George,
like to make a suggestion. Sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead, Joe.
I'd like to make a suggestion along those lines. I don't, my wife and I have done many, many events over the last 17 years since my surviving. And we have often do verbal requests, please, at the end of every presentation, even if we don't have a written survey, we ask, hey, how did it go? What was most impactful to you? How can we improve in our presentation? And I always finish with, speaking in front of people is a dynamic process, and we can all learn to be better speakers. So we always ask for that sort of feedback, even verbally.
Thanks, Joe. George, I was curious, with your experience with the kids, like anecdotally, were they sharing any kind of learnings from going to the Ready to Respond training as far as insights?
So it's a little more challenging because most of them were middle school age,
Hmm.
and I don't know how well they would respond to like a poll or some sort of request for response. Um, I would, if I have to be honest, I would say I'd say about 70% of them really like took in the information. Again, this is middle school, so the attention span is a little shorter. And not to minimize their life experience, but they really don't have a greater sense of mortality like adults do. So for them, it's kind of a new thing they're learning, although they're excited to learn it, and we try to make it engaging for them. We did get positive response initially there, immediately, and we would ask them, hey, are you getting this? Do you understand this? What do you think of it? Most of them were very receptive to it. You're going to have a segment of the audience that isn't because they're middle school and they have other things going on. So, but overall, it was a very positive experience. Sorry, I'm in the hospital. I'm listening to a code rescue. Hold on. Apologize. Okay. So yeah, so it was positive in the sense that they were very open to it and they were willing to learn. Again, it's hard to gauge them afterwards because this is not a segment that's going to come back and take the time to fill out a questionnaire or a 3-question, hey, how did we do? So we would do like what Joe said, just immediately, hey, how'd it go? What did you think? Did you like it? That's how we did it.
Great. Okay, thanks. Okay. We're getting close to time now, so I kind of wanted to just share some final thoughts. First, I wanted to thank our guest presenters, George, Johnny, and Jana. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your thoughts and your insights with us. We're so grateful. And then I wanted to thank everybody for attending today and for joining us. So if you are not yet a Heart Champion, please do join us. I'll send the link out in a post event email to everybody as well. But please do join us in this effort. We hope that you will continue to help us raise awareness. And there's some QR codes here on the screen. to subscribe to our newsletter if you're not already on our newsletter list, and then also if you're compelled to support us through a gift, a financial gift, we appreciate your support. We're in our year-end campaign right now, so I always appreciate any support there too. So we are so grateful for everyone. We all have the same goal, so let's continue to work together and continue to raise awareness and help save more lives. So I just wanted to thank you all for your time and participation today, and wishing you all a wonderful holiday season. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.